In today's video, we're bringing you 3 of the creepiest stalker horror stories you'll ever hear. These are the kinds of stories that make you lock your doors, check your windows twice, and think twice before answering a text from an unknown number. Stories of strangers who watch from the shadows, mysterious messages that know too much, and terrifying encounters that feel far too real. So before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more scary stories every week. You never know which story might become your next nightmare. Now, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. I had just moved into my first apartment after college. It wasn't much, but it was affordable, and the neighborhood seemed quiet. A week after moving in, I noticed a man sitting in a parked car across the street. At first, I didn't think anything of it. People park outside apartments all the time. But the next day, he was there again. Same old gray sedan, same spot. And every time I looked outside, he was staring directly at my window. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Then one morning, I left for work and saw the gray sedan pull out behind me. It stayed 3 cars back the entire drive. When I stopped for coffee, it stopped too. When I got back on the road, so did the sedan. I quickly turned into a crowded shopping center and waited. A few minutes later, the car slowly drove past. The driver looked straight at me. I couldn't see his face because he was wearing a black cap pulled low over his eyes. That night, I closed every curtain in my apartment. Just before bed, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "You forgot to close the kitchen blinds." My blood ran cold. I ran into the kitchen. The blinds were open just a few inches. Someone had been watching me. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, the gray sedan was gone. The next morning, I found a small envelope taped to my front door. Inside was a photograph. It was me, standing in my kitchen, taken through the open blinds. Written on the back were 4 words: "See you tomorrow night." I packed a bag and stayed with my sister for a week. When I finally came back to my apartment, the landlord met me outside. He asked if I had been leaving gifts in the vacant unit next door. I told him no. He unlocked the empty apartment and took me inside. The entire living room was empty, except for one chair, positioned directly in front of the window, facing my apartment. And beside it was a table covered with photographs of me, hundreds of them, some taken through my windows, some taken while I was walking to work. One had been taken while I was sleeping. The police never found out who put them there. But every now and then, when I leave my apartment at night, I still see a gray sedan parked across the street. I ordered dinner one night after getting home late from work. About 30 minutes later, someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, a delivery driver was standing there holding a paper bag. The strange part was that he wasn't wearing a company uniform. I told him I thought he had the wrong address. He smiled and quietly said, "No, I know exactly where you live." I slammed the door shut. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the food delivery app. "Your order has been canceled." I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. The man was gone. I figured it had been some weird prank. Then my security camera sent me a motion alert. Someone was standing in my backyard. It was the same delivery driver. He wasn't trying to get in. He was just standing there, looking up at my bedroom window. I called the police, but before they arrived, he disappeared. The officer checked the camera footage. He paused the video and frowned. "Did you know this man?" he asked. I shook my head. The officer zoomed in on the image. The man wasn't holding a delivery bag anymore. He was holding a framed photograph. A photograph of me. The police searched the area, but never found him. A few days later, I deleted all my food delivery apps and tried to move on. Then one night, there was another knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. Nobody. I opened the door anyway. Sitting on the welcome mat was a small paper bag. Inside was my canceled dinner order, still warm. and attached to it was a receipt. Where the customer's name should have been, someone had written, "See you again soon." Every morning before work, I walked the same route through a small park near my apartment. It was quiet and usually empty. One morning, I noticed a man walking behind me. He stayed far enough away that I didn't think much about it. But the next day, he was there again. And the day after that, always the same distance behind me, always wearing the same dark hoodie. I decided to test it. Instead of going to work, I suddenly turned down a side street. He turned too. I crossed the road. He crossed. I stopped walking. He stopped. Then he slowly raised his hand and waved. I ran all the way to work and told my coworkers. Most of them thought it was just a coincidence, until he started appearing outside the office building, standing across the street, watching. A week later, I changed my morning routine completely. Different route, different time. It didn't matter. He was always there. One night, I woke up because I heard something outside my bedroom window. I looked through the curtains. Nobody. Then my phone lit up. An unknown number had sent me a message. Wrong window. Confused, I turned toward the mirror across my room. My heart stopped. Reflected in the mirror, standing behind me, was a dark figure. I spun around. The room was empty. The next morning, I decided to leave town and stay with family for a while. As I packed my suitcase, I noticed a folded piece of paper sticking out from under my front door. I opened it. It was a map of my daily walking route. Every stop I had ever made was circled in red. At the bottom, someone had written, "You were easy to follow." I moved away the next week. New city, new apartment, new job. I never saw the man again. At least, that's what I thought. Last month, I got a notification that someone had tagged me in a photo online. It was a picture of a crowded train station. Hundreds of people were in the frame. The caption read, "Can you find me?" I looked closely. Standing in the background, almost impossible to notice, was the man in the dark hoodie, looking directly at the camera. And right beside him was me. And that's where tonight's creepy stalker stories come to an end. If any of these stories made you check your windows or lock your doors, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more terrifying horror stories every week. And remember, sometimes the scariest monsters aren't hiding in the dark. Sometimes they've been watching you the whole time.